even had the chance to meet or interact with, obviously they're a stranger, but it's for somebody you don't know. And it's usually a reason that if you knew, you would deem irresponsible, you would deem irrelevant. It is literally just what it is. And you have to drop what you're doing and be there. You have to leave a meeting, you have to leave your children, you have to leave your wife, you have to leave your family, and you have to be there. But that's just the reality of the situation. And that's what you would be signing up for. You will sleep on floors. You will have to you'll have to eat in bathrooms. You'll have to hide when people come because it is what it is. It's not as glamorous at all as what they say on TV. You will become a workhorse. You will work shifts that are beyond 36 hours and be expected to perform at 100% and save somebody's life after being awake for 24 hours. It's not something that you go into
You
with.
know,
Sorry, Mickey, you talking?
No, I think somebody just unmute. Sometimes you hear that every now and then
Yeah,
you put
yeah,
it
yeah.
on mute.
It's
Yeah.
not a situation where
Amanda, I think like Amanda, mute your mic for me, please. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Ryan.
it's not a situation where you're a hero all the time. You quite often have to give people bad news. You cannot save everyone, and you're on a team. Your team will not be able to save everyone. You will let people die, whether it's through your fault or the fault of the team or just the limited resources you're given to work with. People will die in your care. And believe me, you will shed tears for those people. But you have to pack that away. And sometimes you have to pack it away without telling people. You have to pack it away without the emotion that comes with the patient that you've known up until that point. And you have to get the job done for the next patient that you have to see. It's in terms of mental health, your mental health becomes non-existent when you're a doctor. It's everybody else that matters, right? You may wonder, how do I start or where do I start? You have to actually start pretty young. You have to develop a repertoire of knowledge. You have to show them that your interests have aligned with science to a point, and also that your general knowledge allows you to think outside the box if necessary. You have to display insane discipline and disregard for self. They have to see that if there's somebody dying, you will put the world on hold for that one person. And mind you, it's your team that gets the credit, but the minute something bad happens, it's you who get the blame. Huh? So at any rate, you have to make yourself very marketable. Extracurricular activities, a lot of the things when you're young, you can get away with skirting those. You don't have to do all of those things. But when you become, let's say in your mid-teens and you now become accessible to the world, you have to show that you're on top of stuff. You have to take on tasks that show that you're not afraid to bite off more than you can chew. And you have to show a level of accountability in all things so people know that they can trust you. So while yes, your academia is important, you have to build your character, because your character is what people are going to come back to when you have your private practice. All right. You're going to become marketable sports wise because you're going to encounter a lot of senior doctors who love sports, and you're going to need to talk to them and build a rapport. Ladies, it's always going to be harder for you. Let's not beat around the bush with that. You have a lot of choices, but you just have to work hard. You have to work extra hard. It's not easier for the men, but more is expected from the women because they are seen as more caring and devoted to the job. So they expect you to be 200% precise. It's not even you don't have that leeway to make mistakes. The boys will be the boys and they will rapport with the older doctors because they were the same when they were boys. But you have to level up to a standard as women so that the other women who have reached that standard in the business recognize you. And it may sound superficial, but you have to be recognized. As in, somebody has to see your effort. All right. It could be, I mean, it doesn't have to be the CEO or UE, but it has to be somebody who, when the time comes, you say, write me a letter and sign your name at the bottom. And so when I call them, or when somebody calls them, they're like, yo, I know this person could handle a situation. When this person made a mistake, they came to me one time and they sorted it out. So you have to advertise not just your academics, but your character and your ability. Your experience, as bad as this may sound, you could get away with just doing something really cool at the end of your teenage years and say, boy, I was a captain of XY team. I did this for the poor, whatever. You become marketable like that. But your character and The reputation behind what you achieve academically, you have to work on that from a long time. They're cheats. If you are exceptionally smart or sociable, you can chat up, older like medical staff. However, that's after you get your foot into the door. And to get your foot into the door, a lot of the times, you just have to meet the academic criteria. That's just a hurdle you have to jump. You can't really get around that. You can't sweet talk exams. It is what it is. You just have to do the things. And through doing the exams, you prep yourself for what the next 10 years of your life is going to be. All right. So remember, be marketable and be sociable. The colleagues you have are your friends. Even though you don't like them and you would want to lie with them, they're the people you're going to be sleeping on the ground next to. So become a team player and show them you're a team player no matter what. All right. Med school is a lot different from what people see. As in, med school can be fun once you're organized. The issue is you never get time to be organized. You are going to be expected to cover 2 chapters that are 700 pages in one night, and they're going to ask you one question. And the worst thing, if you don't get this question right, they will tell you to leave the class. They do stuff like that. And it's not that it's an issue. I mean, yeah, it's embarrassing, but who cares about that? But that person who sent you out of the class is the person who's in charge of the ward, and you have to come to them for a job. So you don't want to lapse in that respect. But remember, if you're being sociable, like we said, all the other factors we have, plus the character we built, will shine through, and that person will see who we really are. All right. You have to put in the work. You really can't get around that. You have to put in the work. You're going to be studying for hours. You're going to study when everybody else is done studying. And as when you think you've studied a lot or enough, you're going to realize that there's somebody else in the class who just, they know the words in the damn book. And they know the page that the answer is on. You just really have to give it your all. You can't have you can't have alcohol. You just have to push all the time. And you can't say, boy, I gotta take it easy this semester. You have to push from the start to the finish. And then still you're not even guaranteed to pass. They literally design the exams to weed out the people who are not ready. And a lot of the times you may find yourself in the group that is not ready. But you can't let that like weigh you down. They have to just brush off quick and you have to keep moving. Med school is you're like a shark. Well, I like to use fish as an analogy, but it's like a swimming. And the moment you stop, all the energy that you're using is to keep you afloat and you'll eventually drown. So it's always a matter of progression all the time. And you have to continue to develop your reputation and character through med school. Because if the doctor laughs with you, if the doctor understands you, the doctor will hire you. The doctor will give you a reference. The doctor will help you start off your private practice. All right. And ultimately, private practice is where you want to go to because you control your hours, you get more money, you control your life. Private practice is not easy. Private practice is a thing of the past, to be quite honest. The reason I was able to start off in a private practice, well, I worked at the hospital and I had issues because I am a contemptible individual when things do not meet a certain standard. And I had issues with being a team player, not so much in the sense that I could not relate with my colleagues or my staff. I just had insanely high standards, which Mikhail will tell you has been a trait of mine forever. But it rubs certain people the wrong way. And as you mature in the business, you understand that. So I started my private practice very early. I figured I had the skill and I'm a smart guy, so why not? I was making something like, call it 5 grand Jamaica a month. It it doesn't work out like how you think it does. The people will come, but it's not just the people coming. It's how you structure the business. If you don't have a solid business background, you will fail. If you don't have an understanding of how money functions, you will fail. If you don't realize how society and the economy play together throughout the period of 30 days, you will fail. The money is not going to stay in your hand. You have overhead. You have colleagues that you need to complete the job. It's very seldom that a patient comes to you with a problem that you could solve entirely on your own. You need to involve colleagues and refer them if you're an ethical doctor. If not, you will string that patient along and you will get money out of them. One of the reasons I returned to Grenada was to prevent that, because stuff like, poor people getting good health care, that really is why, that was at the heart of me becoming a doctor as well. So I can't stand when poor people get, taken advantage of. So when my colleagues tried to start off, you begin to realize small things cost a lot of money. Paper to print on, letterheads printed, prescription sheets, stationery alone is going to take up 30% of your overhead. And then you begin to wonder at the end of and you have rent, and then you have the timing at which people can come, not to mention if you're looking after poor people, they're not going to always be able to pay. It's going to be an issue. It's it's a running joke in this country that you can pay me with cucumbers and peppers because I will not turn you away. Now, fast forward, if I was 50 years old and I had three kids, a mortgage, whatever, whatever, you think I could take peppers and pay the bank? No. So what happens to my ideal about helping the people and so on if I can't pay the bank? Well, you end up in a hospital. So whenever you decide, boy, do I become a doctor? Do you have the capability to withstand financially a practice on the back of what you may have to pay back? And then when you have to help the poor people that we love so much, who's going to pay for that? You're going to pay for that? Because when you don't make that money, that's what happens. You pay for that patient. All right. So a lot of the times in the future, like I said, private practice is a thing of the past. We're going to be steered towards hospitals. And in a hospital, you don't control your time. Your doc life is going to be at the whims of your hospital manager. And people are going to spit at you. People are going to cuss you. People are going to try and make you do your job better and not understand what your job is. All right. You don't get thank yous at the end of the day. You may think, well, at least we get paid well. Yeah. So in future, remember, doctoring is not what it used to be. The real facts are medicine is a business. It's a big business. And where we fall in it, we become a problem because there are ethical principles in medicine, one of which is called autonomy, meaning the patient has the right to choose or refuse whatever treatment for themselves. The issue comes in now when you have healthcare providers or even pharmaceutical companies who want to push not so much products, but services as well. And we are incentivized to give them. Now, in the new way medicine is being practiced, if you're an unethical doctor, yeah, you can make some cash. As in, the population will see through you over time, but you can make some cash before you get caught. If you do things like you're supposed to do, it's going to be hard. It's not going to be as rewarding as it might have been in the past. The exchange you have to make may sometimes feel like it's not worth it. It's not 1970 when women have to choose between having a family and becoming a doctor. You could become a very damn good doctor and have kids during the process. And and you get married, you live life during the process. But they will understand that they come second to your job. I spent half of my life in the parking lot of a hospital playing because my pops was a doctor. And it's not that I was pissed, but I used to get pissed. I'm like, who are these people? Like, why does my father have to leave me to look after people I don't know? And your kid's gonna ask you that question. So all in all, I mean, just think about why you're going to do it and think about how much you're willing to give up. And if it is that you're going to give up a lot and you're going to be a hero, then remember that's what you chose to do. Don't ever let nobody, when you're on that ground, when you are in that situation, you have no sleep, remember, for good or for worse, this is what you chose to do. And in all honesty, I mean, I don't regret it. It is what it is. I regret the situations that occur, but it's a choice that I would make again. And in all honesty, if you think you're bright, you have a duty to your fellow man to explore your potential to its utmost. And if medicine can fulfill that, I wait to be a colleague when the time comes. Okay, how was that?
It's best if I should ask one of our guests just to give their feedback as to that.
Not a
Um, it's brilliant, Ryan. The thing about it, and I had asked you explicitly that when you make this presentation, we do not
Yeah.
want the pie in the sky kind of approach. You know,
Oh,
students
wow.
are used to that. Oh, come and change the world and life will be good.
Yeah.
And this
You wanted it
claim,
real gritty.
yes, this fallacy. And students, and I know we have some counselors here.
Yeah.
Um, it's not that we are trying to depress you. That's not the thing, right? It can be depressing. And I'm sure that I got that. I've had this sort of conversation with Ryan for years. We've been friends for years. And these are the sort of deep conversations we have about the reality. And we realize that we have a lot of persons who go through the process, get the degrees, pursue all of that. And when they're in it, they it's a total different experience. Ryan, I was speaking to them a couple of weeks ago. Figaro,
Yes.
Figs decided to quit pretty much.
Yeah.
He
No,
wanted to enter I think what was it again? Something
public
else?
health.
Public health. Because
That
of
is the
pressure.
way. Yeah, and in public health, you help more people at your own pace.
Yes.
You are far more effective,
And
than
like you, Figaro grew up in that sort of environment, expected to do well. I think his father is a doctor, uncle. He's a part of that. And I'm sure he had that similar experience. So
we
that's why
did.
I tell Alexia, I said that was low key, kind of scary, but so insightful. I love the realism. Yes, April. Now that is what we're trying to bring because we don't want persons to come. Jovan, prepare yourself. You're on next. We won't take too long because we want Lender to stay. And so some questions. We know the students have questions. Get your questions together, student, and we are here to help you, right? We don't want to hear a person, oh, this is my passion. I was telling them because students, why is it that you want to pursue the particular career that you may think? And one of the answers they get, oh, it's my passion. And so you can have a passion for medicine. You sing. So you can have a passion for singing. You have a passion for what you've done. You have an idea or an assumption. Because we may watch House.
That's what messed me up. I thought I'd become a doctor and I just get cool and get a limp and everybody love me after that.
There
It
you
didn't
go.
work out like that at
And
all.
the same thing with suits with a lot of persons. I'm true again. We have lawyers in our cash of friends. So we get a lawyer here. I have a friend who said a couple weeks ago to me that he wants to tell students that lawyer is dirty work, a hustler work. It's not. That's how we
But
describe
that's
it.
what we see in suits.
And that's what you see in
And we
suits.
have grades anatomy for the doctors. I don't know. First look at it as this nice the thing, You
Yes.
you 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 whatever you get married, you have your husband in the same hospital,
Oh,
you're working and whatever, and
That's
everything is nice.
Hollywood.
But
That's
totally.
Hollywood
honestly,
for you.
there are persons who look at the other sides and the crazy shifts and they get up out of bed in the middle of the night because they're on call and those things. So there are
Yeah.
persons who watch and see, and that part of it. So
Yeah.
we're not all, yeah, we
So
can see behind
we
the
can
pretty
see all of
scrubs.
that. Let me tell you what. Lendor, we're going to mute.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We want to stay for the Q&A. We can have this conversation further. Students, everybody's appreciative. We see April commenting, Rachel, Toby, everybody's commenting. So remember, get your questions together. We want to ensure that you get all that you can. Now it's on to another good friend of mine, Jovan Johnson, senior reporter at the Gleaner newspaper. Some persons, if I said before you follow the news and all of that, you may see I've heard him before. Um, he like myself studied media, right? So he speak about that experience, right? And again, Jovan, I hope you are hearing Rayan just now. We want you to be frank, not to scare them, but tell them what the reality is in pursuing the particular career field. So over to you, Jovan. Speak to the people.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mikhail. And good evening, guys. Good evening, everyone.
Good
Um,
evening, sir.
good evening. My name is Jovan Johnson, and really happy to be here. Mikhail is a very good friend of mine who's doing an amazing job with this platform, and I hope you guys are grabbing as much as you can um, from the um, from the from the engagement and so on. So yeah, so I'm a journalist, the Jamaica Gleaner newspaper. So unlike what Mikhail said, yeah, many of you won't know my faces because I'm sure you don't know the faces of the persons who write in the newspaper. You read, um, but you probably don't pay attention to the names at the top of the article, so you don't know who are the persons who actually write them. And maybe that's why, maybe we want it to be so, unlike those of our friends on TV and so on. you know. But so Mikhail and I graduated from Karamak around the same time, 2012. After that, I went into, so I've been pretty much in journalism for most of my life. I should probably just start from the front, from all the way back. So I'm Clarendon. Let me see all those who are from Clarendon. Let's raise your hand if you're from Clarendon. Yes, Rachel.
Yes, Moko Clarendon.
Oh, them parts that I read bush part of Clarendon.
Country, yeah.
Where you say? We come from Ursa Bush. I'm from Red Hills in Clarendon, which is further up in the hills, up near Bullet Mountain. I don't know how many know Bullet Mountain, but for those of you who don't know, Bullet Mountain is this mountain that marks the dead center of Jamaica. So since nobody really cares where I'm from, I just tell them I'm from near Bullet Mountain, and they will pay attention to that. I'm a past student of Frankfield Primary and Edwin Allen High, where I did both CSEC and 5th form and 6th form. Then I came to Karamak, it's now the Caribbean School of Media and Communication. Studied there for 2009 to 2012. Graduated, I studied radio broadcasting. So it's an interesting question if you ask, then how you end up in print? And I'll come to some of those things later in terms of how you have to be able to develop those kinds of transferable skills, you know, just grab any experience where you can anywhere, because you don't know where life may lead you and you don't know what you may end up doing. And any skills you can grab from any little experience, no matter if you're not pay, whatever it is, it can become something that is beneficial to you on a monetary basis. It helps you with the jobs, all kinds of things. You never put down any experience. If I even do like a volunteer and stuff, whatever it is, because you don't know what's going to happen, and you increase your skill, your talent, your offerings, your value to anybody when you bring the sum total of all your skills together. So I did radio broadcasting, and I worked at a radio station on campus. There was a radio station on the university campus called News Talk 93 FM. I started working there as a student journalist in my final year. And then that's 2011. And then 2012, I worked there, of course. And then up to 2013, when I came to the Gleaner to work in the radio news center for Power 106 FM. From there, I did a few years there, and then I got promoted to parliamentary reporter, one of the biggest journalism jobs you can have at let's say a traditional or any media house is really politics, parliamentary stuff, all of that kind of thing, right? So that was a really, really, really big thing for me, because I would have been promoted to that in 2016. That would be 5 years. I would have been around 24, 25 there at the time. So that's pretty young for a position like that when you're growing up. And if you follow things as journalists, you'll see people who are parliamentary reporters tend to be, older folks, because of the experience that it takes, the competition to get to positions like those, and so on. So, so for me, it was a really big thing to have been promoted to that point. And then, so that was 2016. 2017, I won an international scholarship, the Chevening Scholarship. I don't know how many of you have heard about it, but certainly write it down now. The Chevening Scholarship, one of the best scholarships in the world, and they didn't pay me for this, really. Well, you can't say they didn't pay me school fee and stuff, but they didn't really pay me for this plug. So I went to London School of Economics in the UK. I did a master's in development management. That was my second master's, because just the year after I finished Karamak, I went to back to UWE, the Sir Arthur Lewis Institute of Social and Economic Studies, to do a master's. So I did that master's was in development studies, and then I won the scholarship to go to London, and I did one in development management. Came back, didn't go back to journalism. I went to work with the European Union for a while, briefly, almost 2 years, up to April last year, when I returned to journalism at the Gleaner as an investigative reporter. So that's my current job now. That's how I come to you. That's the kind of background I come to you. I do a little teaching. So I teach journalism at Karamak. I teach media and communication at the University of Technology as well. And just recently, I became part of the Press Association of Jamaica, which is a lobby group, a membership driven group that lobbies for journalists and media workers. So that's my professional background. And on a more personal level, my son was born in December, so next week he'll be 3 months old. A little boy named Joshua, and of course my wife got married a couple of years ago as well. So that has been the general professional and personal background, which really did not come very easy, in the sense that I didn't start out wanting to be a journalist at first. I have to say, I wanted to be a teacher. Yes, I wanted to be a teacher. I remember when I was younger and in their country, and me used to the principal of a high school that I created. I can't forget it, Rihanna High School. I can guarantee you it was never named after Rihanna. But I was a principal of it. I remember my name was Mr. Anderson at the time. So funny. So I really, really wanted to be a teacher, and then, you know, as you grow older and you grab onto more experiences. Certainly for me, as I started to watch cricket and stuff, and my father, I grew up with my dad, so I watched cricket a lot because he used to love watch cricket. But I hated it at first, and then after, when you realize you can't have your own way, you might as well join them. So I began to pay attention to it, and then I wanted to be, he used to listen. What he used to do was to watch the action, watch the motion, the picture on TV, but he would never listen to the TV commentary. He would listen to the radio commentary. And which was fascinating, because you think, oh, why are you listening to why are you listening to the radio and watching the TV? You'd probably think that you just focus on one of them at a time. No, but no, actually, yeah, because the radio commentary was much more dramatic, the colorful, and the picture that it was painting, plus the analysis was much better, as well. So I fell in love with that. But really, I didn't grow up with TV. I didn't get TV until probably around age 11, 12 or something like that. So it was just completely radio. I mean, by the time I was like 12 or 13 or 14, any station in Jamaica, any station where you have, I could tell you at 2 o'clock what program is going on, who is the host, anything. And then my father was a roadman still, so in the evenings and when we come from school and so on, he would ensure I'm home, and food and everything is provided. But the man gone on the road after a certain time. He's a farmer, and after he come from bush and gone from a road, we can play domino, all kind of things. And I would have the radio to go to bed with, to go to sleep with. So it was just the radio. When you bring that with the cricket now, the only thing was for me wanting to be in the radio. I wanted to be in the radio. I wanted to be one of the commentators, and I used to have my own like a cricket match as well. Put up me own like a wicket, bowl and bat and everything. And then that changed as I went to high school and I started to sell the newspaper at the school. That changed to me wanting to be a news journalist, because after I get TV, we can appreciate TV people and the reading of the news and stuff, which I already like from the radio. All of that to say, how it's interesting how your interests, and if you support your interests by any means necessary in terms of the small things, whatever it was. Like for me, it was a lot of imaginings, and it sounds like some like a fancy stuff now, but where you're at now, imagining your future, it can seem daunting, it can seem like a lot, it seems like you don't know a lot, but imagine yourself where you want to be, something that you want to achieve, something that will mean a lot to you, and how it instills in you something to wanting to get there, to wanting to take the active steps to get there. And it's not easy, because somebody would at first, I was thinking, I didn't understand technology and engineering stuff and how, voice was transmitted and all kind of stuff. And so for example, so very, very in the early days, I was quite naive to think that somebody could fit in the radio. Of course, I quickly disabused myself of that, because there's no way a whole entire human being can fit into a small little radio, or one of them, something just slightly bigger than this. So it must have been something else. But the thrill of that kind of thinking, that how do I get into it? How do I get there? How do I be able to talk and describe things like those people, and when a ball is being bowled and over pitched and hit over long on for 6, and the fielding and all of those beautiful descriptive language that transports you. So I'm home in deep radios, never travel, never even got Kingston, much as I go to the airport, but me I see plane over the sky. But I was in Bridgetown, I was in Port of Spain, I was in Adelaide, I was in England, I was in London, I was transported to these places because I paid a lot of attention to how they were describing the things. So I could tell, I could have, you know, some little discussions about some places, and I never really read, but I just based on what I've heard from the cricket destruction. So that's generally how I got interested in media and technology. And interestingly, that wasn't what I got through for. Maybe this is the first time Mikhail will hear this, but I got through for law at at UWI instead, at UWI. That was what I got through for first, and I declined it and went into journalism. And no, I don't have any regrets. No, I don't have any regrets. I try not to have any regrets in life. And it's a what should I say? It's a conscious decision not to have any, on the basis that I think that all my experiences, I have to make them meaningful. All my experiences, all my mistakes or perceived mistakes, the things that didn't work the way I wanted them to work, I make a conscious effort to find a way to see what is a lesson I can draw from this experience. What is a lesson I can draw from it? Because there's something to learn and to take away positively from every single thing. In the moment, it is rough and, you know, it's the worst thing, and you just absolutely want to get away from it and you don't want to deal with it and stuff. And that's normal, natural human reaction to things. But there's a sense about when you're able to get over the initial feelings and reactions, and, you know, find a little space to sit down and say, you know, and reflect a bit about what has happened, whatever it was that happened, and then draw a lesson from it. You're in very good stead, because guess what? The chances of you repeating that mistakes are gonna be slim, because you're not only gonna recognize a lesson and a situation, but you're also gonna apply it going forward. You understand? So yes, so that is a long whole thing about how I became interested in journalism and how I pursued it, and, you know, end up with people like in circles with people like Mikhail, and so on. But it was not always very easy from that onset. I mean, I went to Edwin Allen High School, not one of the fancied high schools, not one of the high schools with the amazing resources that some of our schools have. I mean, transportation, food, all kinds of things. You know, my father was not a rich person, just a regular farmer who you know, just believed in education, because the man, he never got, he finished high school at grade 9, and stuff, and had to go work. But he wanted something different for his children, and I'm really grateful to stand on that kind of support and thing that he gave. But what I found, what was critical for me, my high school years are normally one of the most, obviously one of the most foundational aspects of anybody's life, simply because your biological change taking place in your life, the decisions that are being made, that are being made, and especially in poor countries where the options are few early on for a majority of people who don't have access to all the resources. High school is particularly critical, because you feel that, you know, one foot you set wrong at this in grade 9 and grade 10 or grade 11 could be devastating for your future, and could take another 10 years to correct, 5 to 10 years to correct. Things are changing slowly, but at the moment that's what it's like. But for me, I don't know, I threw myself a lot into almost everything. That's one of the things I wanted. I made sure to write it down. One of the things I want to tell you guys: be enough. It's a cliched line at this point, but for me, it was all about that. Be enough. I must say be enough, I mean, it's okay to go into things where you're not used to, where you know, like, where you know, where you probably, your first thought is, I'm not interested in them, something there, or I can't bother, I mean, have the time, or whatever it is. Be enough. I studied arts in school, like, you know, history, social studies, literature, are those things. And one of my greatest achievements in high school was winning a science competition for the region. Yeah, it was oratorical competition, but it was science based in terms of the researching, the submissions, the documents we have to write, all of them something there. And guess what? It was that experience that got me to travel for the first time in 2009. Go to Trinidad and Tobago, go to what they call the Caribbean Youth Science Forum. This is me, Jovan. who, and I wasn't a science student, I never care about none of them something there. Me do it because, me do the subject because some of them were mandatory and stuff. But I took on the challenge. I took on that because, yeah, there's also the perception for those of you who do arts or arts focus that, science students are brighter, science students are this, science students are that, science students are this, and all kinds of stuff, and history and language and literature and all them kind of something they're boring or not necessary or whatever it is and stuff. I wasn't gonna make that stop me. I was interested in the competition because of the prize, the money we could have win. And it was thrown out to the school that they needed people to enter this competition and stuff. And it was mainly, as far as I can recall, science-based people who applied. I was in sixth form, so I'm going up against people who studied in physics and in chemistry and in biology and stuff, and all kind of stuff, information technology and stuff. And I won at the school level and went to the regional level. I competed I remember the central region, people from Monroe and Hampton and Manchester High and all those things. Really brilliant science students and stuff. I remember one of the participants at the time was Overeen Howell, who was the top was she the top matriculant or top CSEC student or something in 2009? It turned out as well. And I went, did my best. Oh,
sorry. We're going to ask Shimoy Smith to mute your computer, please.
Yeah, man. So, and I went through that competition. And when I look back on that, it was because me did enough. There was no other reason. But guess what? You see, from that little experience, from that little experience I had, I met people across the country and met people across the Caribbean who are friends with me today. And guess what? They are very powerful people in the country. Some of them are senior teachers. Some of them are prosecutors. People are working at the office of the director of public prosecution office. The lawyer lady who prosecute the government murder cases and those kinds of things, all over the place. So it's not even. And I also realize that it's not just about the short-term goal at that point. Yeah, I'm coming to the quiz thing. I'm going to do quiz too. And I won match me win in a quiz. It was a preliminary match. It was a preliminary match, which means that it was not aired, guys. It wasn't aired. TVJ say we have to compete, but you can't take it away from me.
Well, I won more than one matches in school, Charlie. So.
And it was Meadowbrook High. We played, and nobody can take it from me. We beat Meadowbrook, and Jason was on it. Jason plays for the blind cricket team, and Jason and I became friends at Karamak. And every time I talk to Jason, I have to go up on an ego trip and say, "You remember when we beat in a quiz?" And so on. But I'm telling you guys, it's an amazing. It just be enough, and that was critical. That was critical for me. So the same quiz. Tourism Action Club, Medina, Science Club, where the hell Medina Science Club, pardon my language, quiz, it was just amazing, and I think that I was with some people because it was not me alone, it was also who I surrounded myself with, right? Yeah, quizzes a lot. I quiz from grade 7. But we never play until we reach 6th form because the process to get in and all kind of stuff and them stuff there. But it was also who I surrounded myself with. You surround yourself with people where where you say, oh, they may not necessarily have even achieved anything much, but there's just something about their spirit, there's something about how their desire, and when you talk with them, you don't get a sense of these people are just gonna be at this point for the rest of their life, or this is how they're gonna see things. You get a sense, and one is not too young, is never too young to be able to have that kind of that long-term perspective of change, positive change, both to yourself, your family, your community, your country, your world, whatever it is. And you can detect that from very, 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 very early on in your friends. And I benefited a lot from that kind of experience and that kind of engagement where I had people who pushed me, who me push, who we cuss, who we go along bad, we do whatever it is. But when we look at 5 and 7 years later at the end of high school, it's just absolutely amazing. And it made it even better when you go to university and you're able to meet people from all over, bright people from all over, people who are exposed, who involved in this, who involved in that. Again, people like Mikhail, and stuff. And you realize, guess what? You see that being enough. I just start burst out on the world now at that level, meaning you're now out of the strictures of high school and those kinds of rules, and to some extent parental oversight, and you're now beginning to become much more of an adult. You know, taking on the kind of responsibility to decide on to make more consequential decisions where really the fundamental to your life trajectory at that time. And when you rally back on the kind of experiences that you had in high school and the community, your church, growing up and stuff, it's amazing confidence that it gives you to engage with people. Because the thing about it is, especially for me, who was coming from a rural area, never so exposed to urban life, and Mikhail a rural person, broadly speaking, but Mikhail go a top school, a Manchester, and a urban, Mandeville, and all of them, those fancy places. Me go on look a school, now I look a country, I want look a hill, and thing. But when I stepped into Kingston, stepped on university's campus, I was an arrogant guy, but I was confident in my own abilities. And it's one of the things I want to leave you with. Be confident in your own abilities. Hold yourself second to nobody. And go with me here. When I say hold yourself second to nobody, is not to say you're better than anybody, but it is to recognize your own self, your value, that you can contribute, that you have a say. But guess what? You can only have a say, you can only contribute if you well, to go back to rally back on my thing, is to be enough. Is to be enough. And the kind of enough when we talk to being enough is being enough in a sense where you empower yourself, you push yourself, because easy. And poverty is not an excuse. I mean, the lack of resources, it is a problem. It's a big problem for many children, many poor people's children, many children in Jamaica, many families. Could be so much more if they had the kind of exposure, the kind of access that few have or few had, right? But there's something about the human spirit that tells us that in spite of, we can get there. And we've seen the stories all over. So I'm not here to say that that do not recognize the limitations that you face, or the challenge where you face. But I'm here to tell you that from somebody like me can go through it and do it from little to nothing, still not have much, but I'm grateful for what the Lord has provided and what my own abilities and experiences and so on have provided, that I'm able to now make decisions and enjoy things and do things that I perhaps would not necessarily have done if I had not followed a certain path, right? Or if I had not capitalized on an occasion. You understand? But look here, when media even at UE, the way the be enough thing is so critical. When media at UE and me see lecture, of course, quiz. When you do quiz and you do certain kinds of things, you're aware of certain things what's happening in the society a little bit more, and people and faces. Me see professors on campus. Me remember seeing Trevor Man. Me see professors on campus, and stop them and just talk to them. What is wrong with doing that? What is wrong with doing that? The same people you see on TV, or you're reading in the books, or you see whatever. When you see them out there, when you see them out there, stop them and talk to them. Say something to them. Ask them a question, But guess what? To get to that point, you have to have self-awareness. You have your phone, you have the internet, you have this, you have people around, you have all kind of something. You have to make it work for you. You have to make it work for you in terms of reading widely, asking questions, thinking about things, following issues that were happening in society. You're not too young to follow issues that are happening in society. So guess what? So you can have a knowledge base. You can boost your confidence. It's not a matter of tech shame. You see, it's not a matter of tech shame. First of all, if they embarrass you, if they embarrass you, you feel embarrassed and so on. But guess what? anybody, any one of these persons who would see you as a student or anybody who's starting to ask a question and embarrass you, and the embarrassment is really on them. Because what does it take? What does it take if somebody is trying to get help, somebody recognizing your status in society, recognizing the contribution you've made, and has sought to engage you, to ask your questions, to put a point to you, and you would end up making the other person feeling embarrassed? We can't embarrass over that. If it's public, and I mean, I can understand the human feeling, but guess what? It's more issue for them. It's more issue for them. Say, dust it off and you move on. And yes, you're gonna get the embarrassments in life. You're gonna get the embarrassments. You're gonna embarrass people too, and you're probably not gonna know so you embarrass people too, right? But the point is never stopping. And there's so many little things that can come and stop you. And some you can, if you begin to pause and to ponder on certain kind of feelings, or you begin to internalize certain things. You begin to build and develop a certain kind of fear. And it affects your self-confidence and your self-esteem, right? And one has to guard. You have to guard against that, and you guard against that, as I said, by the people that you have around you, by the things that you do, we're uplifting, we're positive, we push you, even if difficult. One of my colleagues in journalism has this the thing, and I take it on too. Sometimes when somebody asks you to do something or ask you to participate in something, the initial reaction is no, me not do it because me not understand. Me not understand. Right? And that is something you have to kind of look at very seriously. Only for time people ask me to do things, and I have never done it. Me afraid, me nervous. But guess what? Me say I'm not going to allow that to take away this kind of opportunity from me. Me reach out to people in my circles. Me bounce ideas off them. Me go read. Everything upon YouTube video these days. Everything upon YouTube video. If you want to fix a car tire, if you want to sharpen a pencil, everything upon YouTube these days. Go and check it out. There are so many things around you that you probably not even make a connection with and realize what could help you. So before you jump to say no to an opportunity, consider. You take a time to think about it. And then you run, go do some little things and see why, let me see what is all required now. All them kind of stuff. And they say, look, I'm ready. Right? Because the unknown can be scary. You can become easily fearful of it. You don't want to try it. But guess what? You say if you don't try the unknown, if you don't put your foot out there where a foot never go before, how you gonna know your capabilities? How you gonna know how well you do something? You're gonna judge yourself off because that person do it. But so yes, it's important to look at the fact that yes, he's done it, so I can do it too. That is very important. He's not done it, but I can do it. So he's done it, I can do it too. He's not done it, but I can do it. What if you stop you from doing that? Again, it goes back to being enough. The experiences, the things that you take on, to do, the people you have around where facilitate you, who can facilitate your self-expression and your manifestation. Even people don't know one thing about what you talk about, but they just feel that they just push you, and that is the same thing you have to do to others. The same people in the circles, because it's never me, myself, and I. It's also us. And it's also we, but it obviously takes you, right? So that is a lot of, and I got a lot of that from just my simple experience as one of them regular. I was not special. I was not unique. I was like pretty much any ordinary child who was going to school, and I got a lot of those experiences just from my engagement, from how I operated in school. And when I came onto campus, as a little country poor boy and stuff like that, as I came onto campus, I was able to hold my own and develop and to manifest and to reach levels that I know I reached because of what I had before, what I made use of, how I pushed myself, how I expanded myself, and how I work with others, learn from other people, listen to other people, challenge them. Because that's another thing. You have an opinion. You're not telling me something I have an opinion. We might disagree on it, right? But I have a voice. I have something to say. I have an opinion, and what I have, it is worthy of being shared. And the very least, anybody can do is to respectfully listen to what I say. You don't have to agree with me, but on the authority of what I know, what I experience, what I've put myself through, as well. There was also another thing I wanted to share. And I don't know. I hope I'm probably going over time now, Mickey. Let me know. Something I can chat. Right? Is I always have this thing.
Yeah, man, you can go on another 5 man, and then we just leave for some questions. Quick questions for you.
Other thing I had in school, other thing when we have in a school, even now, but more so back then, is me and a brethren now we talk. We never really vex with people, but you don't really talk. You don't talk to everybody, as well. But even persons when we vex, I say, look here, if me I don't talk it, and this was in high school, if me I don't really have a relationship or I don't talk or for whatever reason, and me think you can help with something fundamental for me, you think me afraid for come to ask? I'm not afraid to come to you and ask you. You have to tell me no. I mean, obviously, I already figured that you could tell me no, and I'm ready for you to tell me no. But because me know me I go benefit, and you have something with me will benefit from, me I go ask you. Me I go ask you. You have to go tell me no. You have to go tell me no. I'm gonna make me go do it. That you have to tell me no. You have to give me an answer, yes or no. But me not go afraid for come to you and ask you. And that is what I'm also saying. When you see it, when you go out and you see people and you're engaging in conversations and you see those who you see, even people you never talked to before, but you read about them, you hear about them, whatever it is, you ask questions, you stop them and ask them something. If they want to say no, they say no, but you move on. You move on right after that. You understand? So I never had a fear of that. I never had a fear of that. Me and that person talk to come to me say, explain that to me. Explain that to me, I understand that. Right? And so on. And the other thing is, it's obviously building relationships and building networks, building relations. You see, it's better to build relationships than to unnecessarily tear them down, because you don't know where people are going to end up in life. You don't know who you're going to need. You don't know who is going to be important at some point in life. You yourself, of course, right? And so it's always important to keep good relations with people. You don't have to be friends. You don't have to call up every day, but you also don't have to be enemies, right? And you find that it's a lot easier to get along with people when they're not your enemies. They don't have to be your friends or whatever. You're not be friends with everybody, right? But it's important to build relationships, right? When you go somewhere, you go to an event, you know, whatever it is, you strike up a conversation with somebody. You get them name, you get relevant contact information, whatever. And you keep a connection. You keep connection. This was not necessarily taught to me when I was in high school. This was as I grew up and you know, you're going to some circles and engagements and you're being told about networking. Fancy word, networking. In other words, make links. Right? Obviously, there's a problem with that link thing in Jamaica, where the link part of it, the problem being where people who are not qualified for something get something merely based on links. That's a separate thing. Right? That's a separate thing. What I'm talking about is how you can be of mutual benefit to each other, so as to enable some greater good to be achieved, whether for yourself or for your organization or for your work. But yeah, I chat a lot, but be enough. Questions?
Boy, Sir Jovan, thank you so much. I can't express how much reflect the very words and sentiments I've been expressing to our students. I'm here today. Students, you've heard it. I've said it time and time again. You realize that 10% maybe of the board presentations this afternoon was about the academic aspect. Get the academics in order. Get it. It is worth it. Get the academics. Get it out of the way. You need it, right? But you realize that when you enter the real world now, make links. These are things I speak to you about. So it is very important. Build connections, because you have to remember, you know, the competition is rife. Everybody has a degree. Everybody has some qualification. Everybody has that desire. The concept of demand and supply comes right into play. The demand for most resources that you want, is almost more than the supply. So what is it that's going to make you stand out? Giovanni said, and this is a guy I have a high respect for, right? He's more than offer. This is my brother. You're speaking with two of my brothers right here. He's Johnson as well, like myself. A lot of persons think we are blood brothers, who knows, right? But these two are my brothers right here. And so we know, we've been coming from afar, so I know the stories and where he is at right now, people. See, he told you his story. So irrespective of where you are right now, you could be from the most violent of communities, the poorest of areas. You can do it. The key is just understanding what is necessary, right? Jovan and I, we are close friends also with Giovanni Dennis, right? He has a story. I'm sure that most of you, Jovan mentioned about seeing the reporters. Now he's one that you would see, right? But we're coming from the same, the same background, right? He has a story similar to this. He's just adapting to the realities. Jovan said, be enough. If it's one thing I always because it will not be enough up on yourself. At the end of the day, a lot of persons on top that we determined to be on top. A lot of them want to engage with there's some kind of standoffish and guani, but it is what it is, right? I like Jovan was saying, talk to people. The worst they can say is no. You move on. Take it further, probably upset, but move on after that. But look on the positive, look on the likelihood that if you engage, look on the possible benefits. So enough people, these are things that we want you to adapt because you're doing it right now. Right now you're in grade 11, 12, and 13, about to do exams, about to get those subjects. That's the least. Not the least, that's the most, that's the basic, that's the standard, that's the foundation you're setting. Then you move on for most persons to higher education to get the degree. No, that is when the life begins. This is life 101 that we've had right here. Most of you would have had your bio class, chemistry class, literature class, and English. You did not have life 101 today, and you joined at 6 o'clock to have life 101. We're being very real to you in terms of what to expect and what is it that you need to succeed, right? This is the time we open the floor to any Q&A. We've been having comments in general, but if you have any kind of questions, people, please feel free. We don't want the guys to be here for too long, but just ask your questions, whether they're, well, a little bit about their experience, well, academic wise and decisions they've made, and just anything you may have. Just you're free. You can unmute and just ask your question. So the floor is yours, students. Sir, you said no one knows you, but someone in my household just asked if this is a person from TVJ. That's that's for you, Jovan.
maybe because of the names. He's Giovanni Dennis, who's my brother too, and I'm Jovan. So probably probably that's a mix up in terms of the name. I don't know. Maybe she's seen me in terms of I mean, any video or
you've
anything.
made a report.
Yeah, probably. But tell her hi for me. Thanks.
Yeah, man. All right. So Renice is asking regarding the scholarship posting. Remember, we have scholarship posted on the website available to our subscribers. Now you're saying that you're having difficulty finding them and where to apply for them. The information is provided. What I want, Renice, send me a message on the number or NROJA number, and we'll engage with you. But I'll be going on the website later to see. Because a few persons have indeed been saying that they're not seeing how to apply. So I'll see exactly what is the issue there and to help you guys. Because we did post some new ones this week, and we want to ensure that you guys apply for as much as possible. So we're going to check for it. Just send me a reminder, text, and I'll do that and respond. Sir, I think this is for Jovan. When you declined to study law, were you tearful?
Fearful? No, but I was just dead set. On doing journalism. And that me did want to do. And it's so funny, and this is just allow me a couple minutes to because the lesson I got in that is nobody really I didn't know I could have still done law and also become a journalist, because there are lawyers who are journalists. In other words, when you box yourself in one thing and think that this your tunnel vision, you just go on a path and you say, this me I do. Not realizing that you can still end up doing the very same thing while doing other things as well. Becoming value added, adding more value, adding more skills, taking on other kinds of stuff. Because I could have. There are lawyers. I don't know. You may know Emily Shields, Dion Jackson Miller, Michelle Thomas. I think there are several journalists who are lawyers, right? But so I'm here to debunk that myth that I suffered from. Where when you think you're doing one profession, you think, oh, that's what I'm going to do, not realizing along the way there are so many different little elements that you can fan off onto, and still get to do what you, of course, ultimately wanted to do. But I wasn't fearful. I was just myopic, very
I'm happy you responded. I'm happy you responded like that, Jovan, because in fact this is one of the reasons for this particular platform. Because as I said before, when we were in high school and selecting careers, I said we were being myopic. A lot of us just did things because we thought it was supposed to be done this way. We're just following almost like a template. but there was no proper guidance as to the possibilities. And that is why we try to encourage students, especially in this reality right here, that the degree for most professions has become a mere tool. It gives you the option to move, to go to different avenues. And that is why you have to be strategic in what is it that you pursue. Ryan spoke about time and what else it takes to be a doctor. Is not only I say, oh, I have a doctorate degree, but what else? What is the experience about? My family life, my earning potential, the ability to move, to go into other. What are those? What are the factors that determine those in selecting whatever career? So that is why we do this, Anjova, to try to and let the students understand the different avenues. So Miss Cole is saying that some careers are stepping stones to dream career. Yes, I always tell students that life is never a straight line, right? You start from point A, you want to go to point B, you might end up in point A, point 1, you go back, you go forward, you turn, you miss, you come again, you go all over the place. And in that journey, because life is really about the journey, you know, it's not about getting there. Yes, when you get there, then what next? It becomes boring. You try to seek something else to create that excitement. So it's more about the journey. And it is in that journey oftentimes that we may develop certain passions, certain desires, say, but wait, I never knew that this is possible right here, right? So yes, I'm happy you explored that question. Well, you responded to that question. That.
And may I add to Sheena's, I hope I get the name correct, Miss Cole. Some careers are stepping stones to the dream career. Some dream career are dream careers, right? Which I think is the kind of point we're trying to make. A dream career can be a dream of careers, a dream careers. In other words, not just one thing, not just a full stop, not just a stop or a point, but several things. And remember your entrepreneurial spirit. So it's not just to also work, you know, for others and so much. It's also how best you can also open opportunities for your own self to create opportunities for others as well.
Good, and it's another thing we always highlight to ensure that you have that entrepreneurial mindset, irrespective of whatever careers you go. Ryan spoke about going a private and the struggles, right? Right. It's being an entrepreneur, Ryan, you can jump in anytime right here, but irrespective of whatever career you do, there is the real potential of earning, of being the employer in that particular area. So always have that entrepreneurial mindset. I always tell persons, make use of your talents, whatever you can do, see how you can make money. All right, so you can make money. That is a part of the whole careers. That's how you ought to be viewing careers in this reality. No, gone are the days where you just get a degree and life nice and you have that surety. No, those days are over. No, it's not like that.
You gotta be very honest with yourself with what you want to achieve and what you want to achieve. You gotta be very brutally honest, especially with the work you're putting in. If you know you ain't putting in 100% of the work, don't expect 100% out of it. If you know that you're taking days off, don't expect to get paid for those days off.
Yes.
Because you don't ever stop. You go right through. And I keep saying this, and you can realize why at the end of the day, it's your fault.
Don't forget hard work.
It's your fault.
You cannot get more cliche than that. But it's a fact. It's an eternal fact. You have to work hard. And oftentimes persons choose or they have this idea of where is that they want to do based on maybe the successful 0.1% of persons that are shown. I always say, Ryan, that oftentimes when people speak about wealth and achieving wealth, the average person you see is that Bill Gates or Warren Buffett and all of those. And we're not saying that it's not possible either. You're human in your life, it is possible. But why is it that these are the only persons? You want to be a business person because you see somebody with a big car, a nice house, and you think this is all it's all about. But what are their stories? Oftentimes persons have these assets and can't even enjoy it because the minute they want to sit and enjoy it, finished, they have to work. That is the reality. You cannot hard work. Even a man that sells drugs, it's hard work. Police want to kill you. Bad man want to kill your family. It's hard work. Scamming is hard work. Let the scammer them tell you. Everybody want to kill them. Police want to kill them. They have to have their minds in the game. So there's no easy path, right? Don't consider a career I want to do something only because I want to earn money. Money comes with experience, especially in this reality. Granted that there are the few anomalies there who have things unfortunate in an unfortunate way, but even then they have their own stories. But remember, you have to put in the hard work, right? Does hard work actually pay off? If you are smart,
If you're smart, hardworking,
You have some extremely hardworking persons. Our parents, our grandparents, not that they weren't smart, but they were extremely hard workers. But there are factors that didn't align with them, with the hard work. There are other factors. So you have to be smart. That's not just about working. You have to be smart with it. You have to be strategic with it. And those are the ones that end up being successful. To Mr. Johnson, I am the director of wellness at my school, that which I am doing some early tasks. Like everything is media wise these days. So I wait. All right, give me a second. Let me go again. I'm the director of wellness at my school, that which I am doing for some easy tasks. Like everything is media wise these days. So I definitely not doing near real medicine. All right, let me see if I can get it clear. So, sir, what's your advice for persons who are going to do med? What is the first thing I should know before I step into that interview?
Well, all right, that's a me question. Before you step into that interview, you have to realize they want a safe doctor. That is the only thing you could sell. That's the only thing you could market, a safe doctor. They don't want you to be smart and be house-like and know everything. They don't want you to know random weird things that will never come into, into your practice. They want you to be a safe, reliable doctor. So when you walk in there with your proper attire, buttoned up, looking like, you're going to talk to old white people, they're going to recognize, well, all right, this is a face that I could put in the front of my hospital. So make sure you present yourself as in what they see first, because that's how doctors examine. We examine you from the moment you enter the room. So that's how we know when crazy people are faking. So when you come into that interview, make sure, as Mr. Jovan Johnson said, you step into the room with a confidence that lets them know that I'm not cocky, but I can rise to the occasion. All right. So you make sure that you present yourself confidently, and accountability is always a big thing. So you make sure that you don't ever shirk off mistakes in the past. When they say what happened there and so on, so on, you say, well, I did this and I addressed this. You let them know that you're a competent, safe doctor. And from there is wherever they want to take you. You'll never always know what they're going to ask. So be ready, but be honest. It's never going to come back in a bad way. Be honest. And that's that.
All right. We have a few persons raise hands. April, you can unmute.
Seriously?
Somebody said seriously. What happened? Persons who had a raise hand, April or Rachel, you go ahead. Let me check the chat for other. All right, nobody else is saying. All right.
All right, can I go
Aldane. I
ahead,
think
sir?
Aldane.
I'm unsure. I think it was Aldane who said seriously. I didn't see his hand raised, but not sure what.
Okay. Aldane, we'll take a question next. I just seen a question now.
Right. Okay. Good evening.
Sorry, I did not saw that my mic was unmuted.
Yes, man. We'll take a question next. Go ahead. Who was speaking just now?
Right. This is Rachel.
Okay, Rachel, go ahead.
This is my question to Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson. So you've been talking with such enthusiasm and everything, but how would you feel if someone like, of blessed memory, of course, during Samuel, suppose someone like that who never really studied media came in and kind of like soaked your position away? You know what I mean? Would you have some form of like, heartfelt feelings like, I studied so hard, and somebody kind of, like, or Turker Reed, someone like that who didn't really study? Would you have like a, feel sad or anything?
Sorry. Thanks, Rachel. It's a very competitive world out there. And just as I was talking about the fact that I could be a journalist without being a lawyer, I can't be a lawyer without being, I couldn't be a, I couldn't be a, sorry, what was I going to say? I'd have to go to law school to be a lawyer, but I don't have to go to journalism school to be a journalist, right? It's a competitive field out there. And what I have to focus on is sharpening my skills, making myself, I don't want to say sellable, but preparing myself and making myself so valued that I am the best person for the job at the particular time when persons are considering. You see, so I can be in a job and somebody else can at any moment notice somebody else who's more qualified, who offers something different that the entity needs as well. At any moment notice that can happen. Which is why it's also important that when you think you've achieved, some professional milestone, a certification, something, that you never stop learning, you never stop adding to your skills. You make yourself as the best version of yourself as possible, and the best try to make you your best to be the best in your field all the time. You have to, it's a constant sharpening that has to go on, because the day or night you don't sharpen, is a day a sharper thing come in and just cut through, right? So it's a constant thing. So I'm a journalist. It happens all the time in media to talk about people taking off faces. This, you see broadcasters on TV and or somebody in a position, and then after a while, they're no longer there. They could be retired. They could be, the companies may decide that, we've, time enough, we're trying something else, we're trying something differently. We're trying something with somebody else or someone. For a lot of reasons. I can't control all the reasons why somebody would replace a person, but I know what I can control are my skills and what I offer, what I bring to the table. And what I'm always going to bring to the table is the very best all the time. And that's constant work. So that's what you have to worry and concern yourself with. That's how you're gonna lead somebody else.
All right, thank you for answering my question.
All right. April, then we'll go back to the chat to ask some questions we see coming in.
Okay. So I have 3 questions for Dr. Ryan Lindor, and I just ask them. So the first question is, okay, so when you were studying, like, I understand that it can be really hectic and stuff, but how did you find time for yourself and, like, away from, the hustle and bustle of, like, med school? And oh, okay.
You want me to answer one at a time, or I think it's best if I answer by, like, as you ask, because I'll forget if you ask me all 3 questions at the same time.
Okay, you can answer one at a time.
Appreciate that. To be honest, you have to steal it. You have to steal the time for yourself. As in, Mikhail will tell you, there are days when you just have to say, yo, I don't do no work. And that's that. And you have to make up your mind to say, yo, I sit down outside with my brethren all day. And I mean, you ain't drinking, you ain't doing things you ain't supposed to do, but at the same time, sometimes you really just need to close the book. And some of us close the book too much, but you have to gauge how much time you're going to give to it. Because one of the things about me in med school in Jamaica was me learning in what I thought was what life was outside of the bubble of the Caribbean. Now, I travel extensively, but Jamaica's a real place, and Jamaica doesn't play around. Jamaica will eat you if you let it. So I wanted to learn who and how the people were. And like Mikhail will tell you, we had a lot of conversations, and that was time that I took, and it's an investment because that time that I took for myself, I learned people. So that helped me later on. But ultimately, you have to steal that time for yourself. You have to give it back. You will miss it, and you'll know when you miss it, you know that you should have spent more time studying when the time comes, but you just had to deal with that. That is a little thing you have to take to save your life. That's that. All right, next question.
Okay. So I really hope you went through this. So, like, what do you do when you're supposed to be studying, but you don't feel the urge whatsoever to study? Like, what do you do about that?
You see that? That's what I do. I doodle and I draw all the time. I talk a lot. Mikhail, I talk a lot. As Mr. Johnson pointed out, a lot of science students will make you believe that the arts are useless. The majority of my defining conversations that Mikhail will tell you, impromptu debates that I had that let people know, hey, that's a smart guy, were about things that you would have not learned had you not read, had you not done those sort of things, So as in, I am interested in learning stuff, so that's what I do. When I don't want to study, I learn other things. But hey, if you want to go and take a walk, take a walk. Nobody should be able to tell you what you do with the time that you steal, because you're stealing it. Do what you need to do to untwist your mind. Sometimes it may be reading junk that you never have to use or speak about, but hello, yeah, as in, nobody's gonna stop you. At the end of the day, when you give in your time, that's when they can criticize what you do. When you steal in your time, don't let nobody ever tell you what to do. Period. Your time is your time. All right, last question.
Okay, so oh gosh, how do I phrase this question? Okay, so you said that medicine is a business and that certain, like, depending on your socioeconomical background, you might not be able to pay for the treatment that you need. So as a doctor, how do you deal with patients that show up with present such issues, especially if it's life-threatening? Yeah.
Well, all right. You know how like Superman does do his thing, that's his thing, as in looking after people. I've seen my father do it my whole life. So I believe that if you have the ability and potential, it is what you should do. So when you come to me and you only have peppers in a bag outside, and you know what I mean, I can see your eyes watching from carrying the peppers. And I've called Michaela and told him, yo, I've had 200 pounds of peppers with nothing to do with it. But at the same time, I took an oath. And we spoke about being honest and building your reputation. And I am known, like, as in people call me from the UK, I'm known in this hemisphere, I shouldn't say worldwide, because I don't know about that, for my integrity. So if I say so, and this is what I doing, this is what I do. So when I say, yo, come to me and I will fix you, I didn't say come to me with money. I said come to me and I will fix you. So that is how that's how I base myself in terms of my practice. Integrity is the cornerstone of my practice. So if I tell you, yo, poor people, I looking after y'all, then I am looking after poor people. Yeah, it's gonna be rough and I end up paying for it, but if I said it, I have to do it. That's just how you do with things. What do you think about that?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
For answering my questions.
No problem. All right, thank you so much. All right, so Aldane had a question here, but Aldane, I can't really interpret. I'm not sure what you're asking. So if you can unmute, if the question comes up and I can't really define or see exactly what you're trying to ask, I'll just ask you to unmute to ask. So Aldane, if you're still here, unmute and ask a question.
Certainly, sir. My question is for Mr. Johnson, who I kind of admire so much right about now. Being a lawyer and a journalist, you have to know how to prioritize your time. Could you tell us how do you prioritize your time, and if you could give some pointers?
Great, thank you for your question, Alvin. Okay, so let me first declare I'm not a lawyer. All right, so let me say that. But I can only speak from the ones I've seen who've practiced law and journalism, and two of the most prominent ones are Dion Jackson Miller and Emily Shields. She used to be Emily Crooks, but I suppose you guys may know her now as Emily Shields. Mikhail, may I know her as Emily Crooks? Right? You're muted.
Emily.
Emily. Right, but from my experience, Emily runs a partnership, so she actually has she's actually runs a law firm, as well with some other people. It all depends. It all depends. Sometimes these lawyers are not trial lawyers, so they don't go to court. And because court takes up a huge chunk of your time in terms of preparing for the cases. And my answer will not be comprehensive because I don't know the full thing as being a lawyer and a journalist, but I know Emily and Dion are not heavily in court, but I think Emily, for example, is more in court than Dion because sometimes Emily does not host her program. Her program is hosted on RGR 9 to 1. I'm not plugging here really, on a Thursday and a Friday. For example, today she wasn't on. So I usually, when she's not on, she's in court. Dion, however, practices law. It practices aspects of law. Maybe she writes submissions, or she writes, you know, documents and so on that are filed in court, but she actually doesn't go into court. So she's not a trial lawyer. And I suppose once you're not a trial lawyer, it also means that you're not you have enough time to still host your program and go into law. And managing it as well also depends on the nature of the journalism you do. Because if you're a journalist who probably hosts a program as against a day-to-day journalist who, you know, goes up and down in the country looking for stories, reporting, and making a news report every night, every day, every evening on the radio or on the TV, then obviously the time constraints will be greater there. So I think it all depends on the kind of law that the person practices, whether they are a trial lawyer mostly, or they are paper-based, so they do a lot of research and writing, you know, opinions or writing positions or arguments, and then that goes to some other lawyer who appears in court. Or they can be a trial lawyer, don't practice very much journalism. Emily's journalism only comes out 2 days of the week, which is between 9 and 1 o'clock, 9 a.m. and 1 p.m., 2 days of the week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and for the afternoons on Thursday and Friday, she has the time to do her law. So it depends on the kind of law you do. It depends on the kind of journalism you do. I can't imagine, however, that it is very easy to do both under any circumstances. So they must be seriously invested in doing it.
Also, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Lendor, he said that in his occupation, integrity plays a big part. How does integrity play a role in your occupation, if you may?
Oh Lord, that's a central role. Mikhail cuss me all the time about these things.
every day. When Joe wants to calling him, man, him hold him head, man. Yes, man. Continue, man.
Mikhail cursing every day. Mikhail call me and say, what can I report this? What can I question this? What can I headline this? Why not stay so? Why not do this? Why not do that? Integrity is extremely critical. Sorry, go ahead.
When you say it like that, no, you make me kind of feel away, because that's kind of what I wanted to do. So.
Well, let me pull back to say integrity is critical to all professions, all jobs, everything. That is critical. Being honest, having a certain standard that you adhere to is important. Just as a person, your own sense of personal integrity, your ethics, your values, being true, being transparent, being honest. It starts as a person. And then it is important in any other field you do, especially when you're interacting with the public as well. That is critical. So it's not a matter of less integrity for some field. Even among criminals, there's integrity. You know, because they want honesty, they want loyalty, they don't want betrayal. So integrity is critical. It's critical. It's a fundamental. I think the society sees integrity, however, in a lot of ways. You know, in journalism, it's about being fair. It's about being as balanced as you can be, which is why we say being fair, giving people the opportunity to comment. It is not about being sensational. Shut up here, Mikhail. Right? It is integrity as a journalist means pursuing the truth, not being bought out, not being biased, not pandering to a side. Right? And there are people who will accuse you of things that you know are not so, but they're accusing you because they perhaps are driven by an agenda or so on. But in journalism, your integrity is adherence to the truth and reporting on facts and verifying information. Those are your three main issues in journalism. As a doctor, you know, it manifests differently, but the principle remains.
Thank you very much.
I think Ryan has spoken a bit about it, but if you want to add, Ryan, on that question, integrity in the profession.
Oh, well, all right. So this is now going to sound a bit counterintuitive. Granted, integrity is the cornerstone of medicine. You know, rabbit ears on the side. It is not the way to a profitable business. As in, you'll get propositions on a daily basis to do the wrong thing. And in medicine, the wrong thing pays. It pays far more than the right thing. They will tell you, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. And a little lie is a lot of income. But for that patient, that income, that's food that they can't eat, and that's opportunities that kids don't have, that's rent that can't pay, and bills that will never be satisfied. But in terms of what you can do, as in you could do far more by being dishonest. You could you could get far greater rewards by doing procedures you don't need to do. As in if you're an unethical doctor, you will serve yourself, yes, and you'll serve yourself very well. But at some point you will have to pay. The public will see through you. You have a shelf life. And when you expire, there will be no one there to put a hand for you. There will be no one to come to your defense. You and all that money will sit in a cell. And I mean, as bad as it sounds, you may not end up in jail, but when you begin to see the people that you cheat out of life, when you see the people who have disabilities for the rest of their lives because you didn't act properly, that will be the cell that you're placed in. As in, you pay for your mistakes in your mind as a doctor. You see a lot of the wrongs that you do. So you may be tempted to say, boy, I can get ahead quick. And yeah, you may. You may be able to write little stupid prescriptions, do little illegal procedures and so on. And the pennies you make now will be lost with the same speed that you made them. As in, do not trade your integrity for pennies. The dollars that come later, as in, I'll tell you something that's really is a sad fact that happens in Grenada. We have quite a few dishonest doctors. We have quite a few really unethical doctors. And my father's practice has about 15,000 people. And our country is 130,000 people. And the irony is, no matter where they go, once that doctor starts to lie to them, they come back to us inevitably. It's just a matter of, like Mr. Johnson said, when you make yourself, well, not sellable, but marketable in that respect, they will come back to you. As in, the integrity will make you win in the long term. However, as in, I'm not gonna lie to you, you will be in situations where bills are to pay. You will be in situations where you want to further your education and no government is going to help you. You have to work for free in some situations because that institution is not going to help you. How are you going to work for 2 years with no income? That don't make sense, especially in the States. You're gonna pay US for 2 years? So a lot of the people now, they're gonna do things to get that money here so they have it comfortable over there. They're gonna do things to pay for that further education. So you're gonna hear stuff like, oh, abortions were done in the back of a room, so-and-so procedures were done improperly and covered up, deaths were not reported. That is the reality of unethical medicine. And there, a lot of the time you would stand by and watch it happen, and there's no reward for you to not be unethical, except that you know in future that your conscience straight. You know you didn't rob nobody, you know you didn't kill nobody, you know you didn't put no sick person in a worse position. You understand? As in, as much as you want to pretend that you're removed from the situation, and as doctors, we hop into fancy cars and drive home and pretend we don't see the people we pass. You will see the people you pass. You will buy food from them. You will shop with them. You will take taxi or bus home with them at some point. All right. So ethics is going to be presented to you in a very malleable way as you proceed in medicine, especially in the early parts. Don't ever get fooled by that shit. You cannot compromise that. All right. You have the reason I sound so intense a lot of the time, and Mikhail will tell you, I'm not intense in person. I'm a very chill guy. But when I become Dr. Lendor, you have to be intense. You have to bring that 900% intensity all the time. Just because when someone asks, if hard work pays off, yeah, it does. But if you are just smart, you have to prove yourself every day, every single day, because people are going to wonder how you got there and why you got there. So it's work in a different way, shape, or form, right? And if you're proving yourself every day, they're going to question your ethics every day, right? So you make a decision from the beginning in your career. Do I stand on integrity, or do I make a whole heap of money? And I mean, we can't judge you regardless of what you do. But if you mess up patients, I don't have respect for you. Point blank. That's that. If your money comes before your patient, and I don't know that before we start to collab on a patient, we done. That is not happening. You understand? So you make that decision and you stick by it. It's either integrity and ethics or quick cash. All right. But the decision will always be yours, and it will always have to be made with each patient all the time. That's that.
I endorse the students getting this sort of information from now, because as we said before, we want to from early introduce them to certain factors, certain experiences that they will come up against. Again, it is more than just having that sort of qualification, but all of this does matter. You start to build that sort of foundation from now that yes, I have the technical ability, I have the academic ability, but what about me as a person? And this is where it comes into play, because it's not, you're not operating by yourself, you're not operating among mini me's. There are various personalities, various situation, organization, and person that affect what happens around you, and decisions will be made. As Dr. Lindor spoke about just now, the need for money. Everybody wants money. Everybody wants more money. I will never tell you that we don't want more money, but to what extent? To what end? What is it that you're willing to do? And these are some of the conversations we're having. You have persons around you you see every day. We hear it all the time matter about ethics. Giovanni here, a journalist, last year regarding the government and certain government officials. Even last week we heard that a former chairman got arrested. It's right there. And again, the important students of staying informed. I go back to that. Read the news, understand what is happening around you. When you understand and appreciate the events, because sometimes we don't want to do, as I always say, don't try to say, oh, I'm going to change the world or to become Superman. Yes, that's a good thought process, but understand how what happens and accept it. And then that is how you start to navigate and ensure that you're always on the right footing, right? So we really appreciate those responses from both Mr. Johnson and Dr. Lendor. Dr. Lendor, there's another question for you. Is it possible to switch between the DDS and the MBBS program? Is that uncommon? Unmute, unmute.
The basis for the two starts off very similarly. However, I think the biggest issue would be the little interdisciplinary things that they don't teach in DDS, which I'm assuming happens. I'm not sure if they don't teach everything, you know. If you have to, if you want, I've seen people switch. It's not uncommon. It's more common for people to complete one and start the next. However, if you switch, it has to be, I mean, it seemed like a very painful process in terms of there was a lot of talking and a lot of reasons that you have to give and people you have to give excuses to. it to me it always gives the impression that the lecturers always gave us after those kind of interactions with people was that they did not think they were cut out for whatever degree they started, so it's only a matter of time before the same process may manifest again in the new degree. However, don't ever take on that. If it is that you want to do MBBS, and Mikhail will tell you, I always believe you could do it. Once you think you could do it and you put in the work behind it, just fill out the papers and handle that. As in the biggest, there's no hurdle you would ever. I mean, you have to learn the material. Once the material is learned, there's no difference in how you have to apply yourself, and you just have to make sure that the people you spoke to, because you will see them again, the people who you write to and tell that you want to switch degrees, you make sure they see you work in your new degree. You make sure they see you perform well in your new degree, so they don't think they made a mistake. As in, it's going to be a culture shock because the culture of doctors is very different and we're very elitist. So the moment you come from a different degree, we're going to look for ways to take away from what you can already do. So A, expect a lot of resistance from your colleagues, your new colleagues. B, be ready to have to do more than the average colleague, the average student does already. And I mean, see, it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy, but everything is hard at the start. Just keep on persevering and pushing through. To me, if you have done enough to enter DDS, I do not see why you'd have a problem handling MBBS. It's just a longer run, and once you pace yourself, you shouldn't have an issue.
All right, excellent. All right. Um, it's nearly 8 o'clock. I always say that our career guidance hour often turns into 2 hours, but we're here to help. So we're happy that our guests are still here, willing to assist. Aksania had a question. I think it's directed to Dr. Lendor, but I think Jovan, based on the nature of it, I think you could still contribute. Ever had to manage any guilt, like ever messed up and totally regretted it? And I'm assuming in your line of work.
Okay. Yes, I have. we have a unique problem in Grenada where our hospital doesn't function at proper capacity. So it was not even 2 weeks ago, I had to cry with my wife. Well, she wasn't crying, I was crying because my patient who paid me an avocado 8 years ago, she was one of my first patients that I met. And well, I mean, she's passed now. Her name is Gwyneth Redhead. She loves ice cream. And I mean, when the hospital was like, yo, our ambulance needs gas, we can't come right now. And I had to watch this woman struggle to breathe until we talking. And when I heard her stop talking, I just had to leave because I knew exactly what had happened. As in, it wasn't an if and a but. It wasn't guilt because, I mean, yeah, you feel like you messed up, not because you couldn't save the patient. There's only so much you can do without proper support. So for me, it always feels like if I'm there in hospital, I could do something, but I chose to leave hospital because they wasn't functioning properly. So every time a Gwyneth passes away, which I will tell you is quite often, yeah, you feel the guilt. If you want to know if I've ever done anything directly to do something, there were times you get orders. I remember when I was an intern and this lady was in her, I mean, she was like 99. And they're like, you need to check her oxygen. And I know if we took her off of that oxygen, she would die. But you have to take them off for 15 minutes so their blood could equalize with the atmosphere and check it. And she smiled at me. I mean, that was creepy as, but she smiled at me. And my boss was like, yo, I didn't ask you what your opinion was. I told you to go and perform the test. And sure to fact, 25 minutes later, she died. And her granddaughters were crying on the ground and things, but it was what had to be done at the time, according to medicine. But I mean, and you know what happened right after? We had to see the next patient. I didn't even get to say, boy, family, she said this last, she said, that's not even my place. Next patient, next time. After Gwyneth died, next patient. That's just what you had to do. The guilt doesn't go away. Like the guilt literally doesn't go away. If, well, Mikhail will tell you, in Grenada, we tend to drink a lot. So if we have drinks in Grenada and you bring up Gwyneth, you will see tears come to my eyes, point blank. And if you bring me close enough to the hospital, you will hear bad words come out of my mouth. And I don't have to be drunk for that. But you know what I mean? It's just you don't get to deal with these things in the way people think you do. It's not like there's a room with my colleagues waiting to hug me when I'm finished. That doesn't happen. You end up going home and people tell you, yo, why you never saved the lady? And it's like, dog, what do you think I was doing playing games in the hospital? Like I went there with that intention. But that's the reality. And you will never get away from that. As in, people will die. And people say, oh, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. Dude, Dr. Ryan Lendor is one signing your paper. I was trying to save you. So if I couldn't, sorry. That's how that works.
Wow.
Yeah.
Number, yeah, a number of our guests are expressing shock. I guess at the frankness and the reality of what Sir Johnson.
Yes. Right. I have to run at in 2 minutes time. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. But the question was about the issue of guilt. Yeah.
Yes.
Had to manage any guilt, like ever messed up and totally regretted it. Well, yes, certainly. One could hardly go through a job and especially a public the public presentation of a job like this without feeling guilty about some things or even messed up and so on and regretting it. I recall there was, I can't mention it now because the name is no longer, I can't mention the name or anything, but there was a case involving what was the case again? There was a case, I think it was like it involved an issue with a child. And by the way, what happens is that there are when criminal events or crimes take place or so on and they involve children, the protocol is that children's names are not mentioned, to protect them. their identity and protect them from being bullied, protect them from being, you know, highlighted and troubled and mocked and jeered and so on by, you know, their peers and others. So the country, you don't, once an incident happens involving a child in Jamaica under 18 years old, they're not mentioned, especially by law. I think there's also a legal thing there. And there was a very sad case where the child, I'm trying to remember, it was some fight or something involving some children or so on. But I know one of my stories is that I inadvertently included the child's name. I think I was just rushing to get a story, and that's a hazard. When you're rushing to put out a story and to be first, you can make mistakes. And you include a name. And I recall the family calling the newsroom and complaining, and you're putting the child in danger. And I felt really bad about that, because if anything happened to the child, then I could reasonably be blamed, because nobody would know until it would have come in the report, and the editor didn't pick it up as well. So I could also have been, I could have got into real serious legal problems for that. So that was a big mess up. Not even the legal problems, but if anything bad had happened to the child, I could have been the kind of guilt I would feel if there anything. It's been some years ago, and I've not heard anything, thankfully, about that situation. So that's one of the cases. That's not bad. And then there was this week. It wasn't really a mess up, but there's a thing about technology where we all become so heavily reliant on technology that we don't want to go back old school to use paper. So if you're presenting, you'll always see a reporter with a paper in their hand on TV. It's not for fun or for fashion. It's literally, if the teleprompter, a screen-like thing that's in front of them carrying the text, if it fails, they can look off this and read as well. And I had a forum I hosted this week, and what I didn't do, I did not read over an aspect of it. And lo and behold, when I was there reading on prompter, the guy who was operating the prompter completely forgot that I was reading from the prompter. And so what was on the screen, I just read the first few lines that was on the screen and couldn't go any further. And the thing was live, and I am there, and I'm looking and I'm reading, and I'm seeing the sentence. I'm going to finish a sentence, and I'm looking over my eyes to see the guy. He's not even paying attention. He's doing something else, and I'm like, but the sentence is finishing. You need to get this thing scrolling so I can read. And this thing is live, and and I had to, I could sink in the chair in front of the teleprompter. I literally could sink, but I could not do anything. I could not even show displeasure on my face. It's not professional, and I had to be calm, and realizing the thing is not flowing on the screen. Be calm, put my head down, turned the page to what I wanted, and I had to do it. But all the while inside, I was dying. If it could have cussed me, that cuss. If it could have balled up, me that balled up. If it could have screamed, that scream. Everything. But I had to very calmly. Well, and if you go back to the video now, you can see it. That's not a case involving injury to somebody, but it was a situation where I was not as professional as I ought to have been in reading over, knowing where, organizing my page in front of me. So if something happens to the prompter, I could easily go down and spot where I could have picked up. Right?
Was it the forum with Faye and Curly Locks?
Yes, that was it. That was it. And it's the value of preparing. It's a value of preparing. It's the value of being as professional as you can be. I mean, I tell you, I was mortified. Like, I'm there reading this stuff.
Students, go to Gleaner's website, right? The persons want to see the video. Go to Gleaner's website or the YouTube page, Facebook page.
God, it's the worst.
And you see the Gleaner Editors Forum with Faye Ellington and Curly Locks. That's the one he's speaking of. So if you want to entertain yourself, let us see what is happening there.
That was an instance where I messed up, right? And it happens whenever it happens. Lots of time reporters make errors. And if you're a trainer and if you follow the industry, you can know when a reporter is messing up. in something. Some things are not necessarily obvious because somebody may think that, oh, something must be wrong with why I'm looking down on that. But it is because I was not as prepared as I ought to have been. And so I'm looking and I can't, because the thing is live. I can't say, Mikhail, scroll the thing now. Like, that's, I would not be professional. I had to just calmly, hold on my head, look for the thing, and then begin to read and pick up. And I can't even show a grimace. I can't show that things are falling apart. I have to just continue. And you know, it's that's sort of how life is. But so that's one.
Thinking on your feet. That's a skill
thing.
word learning. There was a story I think Faye had told us and Jovan about when I think it was Fidel Castro coming to Jamaica in the 70s, I think, right? And the plane was delayed, and she's the one doing the live broadcast, you know, she does all that sort of thing. And the plane was delayed by 2 hours. And the thing is live. So what she had to do for 2 hours was to draw from memory events and regarding Castro and politics for 2 hours unscripted. All of this would be unscripted, right? So you have to know how to think of it. It is a skill worth learning, people. And it comes when you have that sort of confidence. Again, the importance of confidence and knowing yourself. Jovan spoke about self-awareness. You know the ability. Dr. Linder spoke about knowing history and reading outside of the norm. I always think you can't be just devoting all yourself to YouTube and just investing in entertainment and have that same bland conversation. Elevate your thinking, because you never know what circumstance may arise where you have to draw on this sort of knowledge to get going. And not only for that purpose, but it builds you, it builds character, it gives something more to you, right? So the question Aldane is posted, I don't think we're going to answer that question, sir. In a more private forum that can be asked.
Well, I'm gonna have to hop away, Mikhail.
Thank you so much.
It's been really, really great.
Yes,
sure, I'll be invited back to share with something else at some other point.
Sure.
And I'll be very happy to share. Great to meet you, Dr.
I'm sure I get really appreciated this contribution.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
I hope so. You can follow me on Twitter if you can. It's Jove Anthony. I'm gonna put it right here. I'm gonna put it here. You can follow me on Twitter, Jove Anthony. I think that's it.
Yeah. With the hope that our students have Twitter profiles and LinkedIn. If that all about Instagram,
I can look for my name on LinkedIn as well.
Get a Twitter profile, get a LinkedIn profile, right? And all of that, right?
Take care.
Bye, download Gleaner and try doing that. So Jovan, later. Thank you so much, sir.
Dr. Lindo. Yes.
All right.
Sir, you're muted.
We're having a long conversation. I'm muted. Wow, technology. You see, this is what life has become, right? But I'm saying, you're hearing me clearly now, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, man. Okay. So, yes, we had a great time. This is what it's all about, to bring you further or more than just the academics, but what you're walking into. You're about to have exams, as I said before, either at the sixth form level, either at the Cape, the CSEC level, and some of you will continue to go out there. This is what you're about to experience. And we want well for you. We want you to be prepared. The mistakes we made when we were at your stage, we don't necessarily want you to make those mistakes. You make your own mistakes, but don't make the ones that we made. You learn from it, because I sincerely believe that each generation ought to make it better for the generation coming. You know, some persons want their students to work hard and struggle and all that. Yes, work hard, but you don't need to struggle. You ought to make each generation better than the one. That is how you progress, right? So we want to ensure that everything is going on well for you. So thank you so much, guys. Dr. Linder, it's a pleasure, sir. As usual, I call on you. And he was supposed to be in here from last week, but we had last session, not last week before last. He was gutted that he couldn't come in time. He had his thing prepared, and he said that next time let me be there. And he stayed true to his word. So he's here, and I'm sure
Let them know how much trouble it is for me and schedules. Let them know that me and schedules and being on time and look here on time.
That is
I
so
was
true.
ready.
That
Yeah.
is so true. That is so true. Thank you so much. Really appreciate this. And you know, we call upon you again because we're developing a network here. We have great plans for this particular platform in so many ways. And we have guidance counselors here as well. So they have seen the benefit of what we've been doing. So we have sessions like these, you know, the scholarships and just general services to everybody. And you students, make suggestions, message us, let us know what else we can add to our platform to make it better for you. So we always everybody's winning on our end. Remember, share the word, get more persons to subscribe, get more persons. We want more persons from each school, spread the word, get more persons to get on board and have a good time. I don't know. Okay, yeah. So there's no more questions. So this is goodbye until later. This is goodbye until later, guys. Remember, scholarships are there. Somebody had expressed concern about not seeing them. I'll check on that. I'll check on that. Any other concern, just message us and we'll check on that. And just ensure that you get more persons to join. And we have much more coming to you to in terms of getting you ready. Yes, somebody's asking for a military personnel. We have a good friend, Orion. Remember Orion? Yes, man. Orion is a officer in the JDF. He was supposed to be here last time, but he had some Call of Duty. Oh, again, Call of Duty, yeah. He had Call of Duty. So he couldn't have made it, but we will make it a point of it. We have those persons on the roster, please, and somebody in technology. You see what you're doing right now? We want that. Send those in the message. Remember our WhatsApp number. Send it in the message in terms of the persons we want to come and speak. So somebody had actually mentioned the military person. We'll try to get Orion. If not him, we'll get at least 2 other persons lined up just in case. But we'll get somebody to speak regarding all of that. Somebody saying about flight attendant, dentistry, technology. Send me that to the WhatsApp message. Remember the WhatsApp number. Let me look. I will not apologize for not being able to remember my own number. It is what it is, right? That's my weakness. So it's 579-4174, the same numbers we used to get in here. So 579-4174. Just send us a message as to who you'd want to speak with, and then we'll make that arrangement for you. So that's it, guys. Really appreciate it. I hope we'll see you next time when we have guidance hour. And as usual, we'll have a great time and we're always happy to help. So for now, goodbye. Thanks.